Genesis chapter 44 and 45. The Silver Cup. That night, when everyone was feasting, Joseph ordered his steward to fill up each of the sacks belonging to the brothers with grain. Joseph also instructed the steward to return their money to them, hiding the silver coins in the grain. Then Joseph said to the steward,
"Take my finest silver cup and hide it in the mouth of Benjamin's sack."
At dawn, the brothers loaded their donkeys and set out for Canaan, still not aware that the generous governor of Egypt was their own brother, whom they had treated so badly years ago. And so they left Egypt. But they had only gone a short distance when the steward caught up to them. Acting on Joseph's orders, he said to them,
"How can you treat my master like this? You have repaid his kindness with a wicked act."
The brothers looked at him in shock and in confusion and in unbelief. The steward pointed at them angrily.
"One of you has stolen the sacred silver cup, the most precious possession of the governor of Egypt."
They all denied it at once. Then Reuben stepped forward.
"If any one of us has done this, then he will die, and the rest of us will become your slaves."
"Very well,"
said the steward.
"Let it be so."
One by one, the brothers opened their sacks. The stewards went through every single one until he came to Benjamin's sack. He put his hand into the grain and pulled out the silver cup. Benjamin staggered backwards. He was overwhelmed with horror. How had this happened? He knew that he was innocent. They tore their clothes as a sign of their great sorrow. And then they followed the steward back to Egypt. The steward ushered the brothers into the presence of the governor, and they fell to the ground before him.
"We offer ourselves as your slaves,"
said Judah.
"every single one of us, as well as the one who has stolen the cup."
"No,"
replied Joseph firmly.
"I do not want you as my slaves. You may all go free, except the guilty one."
And Joseph pointed at Benjamin. Then Judah begged Joseph not to take Benjamin. He told him about his father Jacob and how he loved Benjamin above all his sons, how he had lost one beloved son, Joseph, and now Benjamin was the last surviving son of Rachel. Joseph looked on, deeply moved, as Judah, who had acted so cruelly in the past, now pleaded and begged for the life of Benjamin.
"My father will die if the young man is thrown into prison here. If we do not bring him back alive, it will break his heart with grief. Please, take me as your slave instead of him. I will serve you forever. Please, let the boy go."
Judah began to weep, and at this Joseph could contain himself no longer. He shouted to all of his servants,
"Leave the chamber! Leave us alone!"
They all went out, including the interpreter. And then Joseph broke down and wept so loudly that it was heard by everyone in the palace. The brothers looked at him, bewildered. One moment he had been so stern, and now the great governor of Egypt was weeping like a little child. He lifted his head and spoke to them in their own language.
Don't you know me?
They looked at him in astonishment, and they shook their heads.
I'm Joseph!
He said. They were trembling with fear and did not know what to make of all of these things.
Joseph, is it true that my father Jacob is still alive and well?
Gradually, as if the scales of the years were falling from their eyes, they began to recognize him, their own brother, in the royal robes of an Egyptian ruler.
Look at me closely. I am the brother you sold into slavery.
A deep fear fell on the brothers. If this were true, he would kill them all. But Joseph held out his arms.
Don't be distressed. Don't be alarmed. And don't be angry with yourselves for what you have done. You intended to do me harm, but God turned it all into good. Look, He sent me to Egypt to save many lives, including yours. So it wasn't you who sent me to Egypt, it was God Himself. Tell my father Jacob that God has made me governor of all Egypt. Tell him to come down immediately with his flocks and all his people. Tell him to bring his children and his grandchildren and all his possessions. You must all come and live in Egypt with me, so you will be rescued from the famine that is still yet to come.
Still, not one of them dared to speak or to move or to breathe. It was too incredible. They just stared. But the tears were running down Joseph's face as he held out his hands.
Benjamin, you can see that it's me, can't you?
Said Joseph. And he went up to Benjamin and he hugged him. Both men started weeping for joy together. Soon all the brothers were weeping and embracing Joseph.